Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emo Tempest here, and I'm going to talk about deck building today. I do have this video recorded for you, and what it is really is just, I guess, raw testing for us, raw deck testing. And what I mean by that is I kind of just put this together. Okay, so my teammate on the right, he's playing Mono Fire, and this is kind of something that he worked on, you know, took some time, put it together. It seems to work fluently, and it's going up against me on the left, and I just put this together, and I have no idea if it's working exactly like I wanted to. I am playing on Earth Water, and it's kind of like my next experiment right now. The reason is because, you know, everyone's talking about ice and whatever, but I think Earth is really the strength of the set right now, and I feel like it has enough potential to like fix the other decks. You know what I'm saying? I know, like, because there's a lot of Earth Wind and Earth Ice going around, and even it's actually I think recently it topped. It was Water Earth, but it was more water than Earth. It just played Rabans and Shantotos and stuff like that. But I think it doesn't. I don't think it has to be like that. So what I'm trying to figure out in this video is how to balance out the colors, because it is a dual color deck, and you know, mostly I play monocolor decks, or some people believe it is a monocolor meta. As you can see, the Mono Fire on the right. And you know, we build the monocolor decks for consistency, and that makes sense. So when I'm deck building and deck testing, I'm kind of looking for those for what exactly it needs to work. And as you can see here, I'm still not even used to the colors. I'm pitching Shantoto and like other stuff to try to get Mog out. I don't want to pitch Minwoo because I know I'm playing Fire. So even though my first play was pitch Razzler and Cockatrice to get Miner out, I got Razzler back, but that only left me available to play my Mog on turn 2. Now, I know I talk about Mog a lot, but Mog is probably the worst card to play up against Fire, and that's exactly why. Any of their summons, they just blow him up right away. And so, you know, that kind of puts me behind, and that's fine. That's kind of what I'm expecting when I test. So I want to see. I do only test against the Mono Fire at the moment right now, so I don't look into the rest of it. But even just testing against the same color helps me understand the flaws about the deck and what it needs and stuff like that. So, because remember, when I'm dueling, when I'm playing a match, I'm reflecting on my own deck, not necessarily my opponent's deck or the playstyle. But if my deck can get to where it needs to be in a reasonable amount of time, or at least hold its own until it gets there, or how it pretty much defends against something like that. So the Mono Fire deck is more of an aggro deck, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. You know, like Lednar's there to hold me off, and then the Warrior there is dealing damage. Oh no, it's buffing, I believe. But see here, so here's the real reason I'm playing the trying to add the water aspect. I believe Yuna, this legendary Yuna, is a really important card. I don't know if this meta or this current game format is like is the best place for her right now, but I do believe that she's going to play a bigger role in the game overall. When she attacks, she pretty much negates all the effects of all characters your opponent controls except light or dark. So that includes stuff like Lednar there, for example. If I attack with Yuna and, you know, well, my effect's going to go off no matter what, Lednar can no longer become unbreakable. Like, he's literally just she makes everything vanilla. It's a term we used in Yu-Gi-Oh! It was cards that don't have effects. It just had flavor text, no special effects. So, or vanilla is a reference to a basic flavor, you know, something like that. Like, it's just a normal card. It's not anything. It doesn't do anything. So, like I said, when Yuna attacks, she makes all your opponent's characters vanillas. And so I'm trying to, like, find a way to utilize her to the best of, like, what deck color suits her best. And so, and here, see, this is kind of my situation in the deck. So I have Minwoo, but I would have taken 8k, so it would have broken me anyway. So I had to pitch to make her 9, causing, again, the amount of damage I take less. And I would have gotten Carbuncle back to my hand, so it would have been just a 1 cost, you know, out. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for in this deck. But again, my opponent had another out, so he responded. So before I was able to become any stronger, he decided to blow up Yuna for 10k. Unfortunately, I would have been able to survive both of this if I had put down the Adamantoise. I didn't get there. See, those are the kind of things that I think about when I'm building this deck, when I'm deck building. See, I'm there just playing it cool, trying to see how I can get there. In my head, I know I'm running through the idea of I wish monsters were like summons, but then I just pick it up and then scoop it out. I don't get Carbuncle back because the target isn't there anymore. Yeah, and I'm reading these cards again. See, I thought it was the one that dealt damage, or I'm making sure it deals damage, but it's actually the one that buffs by 2k when it attacks. And then right there, I'm pretty sure I don't draw into anything, and I think I'm gonna scoop. But anyway, but yeah, so those are the kind of ideas that I'm trying to get through this deck. Like, I like the idea of opening up Miner, and I'm still, I'm only paying 1 card for Miner, and it does let me search the cards I need later, like the forwards out of my break zone later. And see, this is kind of where I wanted to be previously with the Yuna. I wanted to have the Adamantoise out, but I didn't have the water cards for it. And here it is a tough situation. Yeah, exactly, because he's gonna deal the buff them both, so they're both at 17, so causing them to be at 14. I mean, they're both at 7k, so it puts it at 14, and I have to let it go. But and next turn he's just gonna red mage me. I wanted to try to keep a forward longer, but see, I don't have a lot of outs. And when I'm deciding matches too, I only have. See, here right now I'm just trying to sneak in points of damage, even though I know I don't have anything, but I'm not giving it up anyway. I'm not giving up the duel. I'm just gonna try to assume my opponent plays wrong and gets puts the duel back in my favor. So the problem with my deck after this first duel, I realized that I don't have like a good curve on forwards. All my stuff is like 4 costs. There's a bunch of 4 costs in my deck. And then, see, he chooses me. I can't block. I want to Adamantoise, but I can't because it doesn't matter. And that's it for that one. So, when testing decks, also, it's very important to see how your deck does against the aggro matchup. Like, there's two decks I believe that a deck has to be able to survive and do good against, for the most part. And that is always going to be some aggro deck, mostly fire ice aggro, or like a lightning aggro deck or something like that, or the ice wind aggro deck, like one of those unblockable decks. I think it's very important that your deck knows, or at least has 1 or 2 cards out that are situational, not necessarily situational, but that work in both situations for a regular duel against like 2 drops or stuff like that, and for unblockable shenanigans like I used to think that the most important thing was for random decks like Golbez, but we don't see Golbez enough anymore. So I'm sure he'll come back. He'll make an appearance at some point. But and the second deck that you should be prepared of is for like a mono water build, which is the most stally like kind of late game deck. If your deck can't win early game or take it to the late game, then it's missing something. Then it lacks a basic structure, I guess, if you will. And that's kind of how I built my previous decks, or at least when I was testing, I make sure to test against those kind of decks because I want to have outs for that stuff. And see, I'm looking at my hand right now, and all I have is 4s and higher, and that was after I mulliganed too. So I have Wool, I have Waka, and I have Rose. Rose is just going to get me another 5 cost too. So and as a sneak peek at the deck, guys, I'm not going to share that deck with you until I'm ready to do it. I don't want to give you false information or something that's still in the works and stuff, like I said before. So this is what I'm working on right now, the Earth Water deck. There's a winner box next week, and I'm going to be playing it there. So, for any of my fans and my local fans, followers watching this, yes, that's what you should expect. But I already know I took it to the weekend locals this past Saturday, and I do have footage of that, and I'm going to show that to you guys this week. I just wanted to have this up to you because that one's taking a long time to render, and I have to go over a couple matches. So, but yeah, so what's very important about deck building is do you have outs? Like, do you have one card outs? See, like this, the fire deck works because the fire deck, what it does is that it just blows things up. Like, it has ways to remove your opponent's forwards, and it not just necessarily remove them from the game, but remove them from the equation. Between Red Mage, Zuyu, and all these extra Ifrits that he's playing, I believe he's playing 9 Ifrits or 8 Ifrits. Both the I can't remember the type O one, I think it is, and then that one. So it just wants to be able to deal. So that Ifrit, if you guys don't know what it does, it says it deals 5k to a forward, but if you pitch another Ifrit, it deals 10k instead. And 10k to something is pretty, like, it's gonna kill for sure. It's not necessarily the most cheapest card, especially if you're pitching 2 cards. Ideally, you'd want to have backups to play that one because it's such a cheap, it's such a 2-cost. It is a 2-cost summon, but you also need to make sure you have the Ifrit in there to deal the damage. And see, if we were watching the first game, you realize that I was playing. It seems a little different now. It almost looks like a regular fire deck with a Sabin and the Sage and stuff. But see, those are the things. Like, you have ways of. See here, he's asking if it stops all EX bursts. Remember, Wool does not stop all EX bursts. It just isn't affected by EX bursts that target. So you still can search. And some people forget that. And, you guys got to remember what these cards do. But, yeah, so my deck is currently lacking outs. The deck is very defensive. It uses Adamantoise, Minwus, and Cecils, and even the Rosa to kind of negate damage in order for everyone to survive and make Minwoo super live. And that's what I'm trying to work with here. It also has the only real out is Raban and Adamantoise, so it's expensive though. It's like a 4-cost, and the Leviathans, I guess. But I'm not playing any. I'm playing the legendary unit, so I can't play the 2-cost unit to make it cheaper. And when I went over this, I realized that all these cards are expensive, even the summons and stuff like that. So I was thinking, how do I make it better? How do I get more search and more value and stuff like that? Which were the things that this deck was missing. It was very straightforward and expensive. But going forward, I think I'm going to take up the Wakas. I'm definitely going to try to make the Wakas either something cheaper to fit my forward curve a little bit better, or something that searches. Since I am playing the triple Waka, I definitely want to make him. I'm going to switch 2 out for Garnet, and I'm going to switch out the third one for what was it? Another Rose, I believe. That way, I keep 2 4s and I add 2 3s towards my forward curve. And I still have options to protect a little bit, because the cool thing about Rosa is that she reduces damage by 1k to regular forwards and 3k to anyone named Cecil. I am going to try to fit in one of maybe the Earth Cecils. I don't think it's possible because everything's so expensive. I think that's always been my problem playing Earth, because once you have to, it's like you have to play Shantoto, right? Because that's your board wipe. But if you play one Shantoto, you never draw it, or it gets hit on the damage points. But if you play 2, you end up with 1 and you end up pitching it anyway, unless you're gonna be behind for a little while. I don't like to live in those scenarios, and those aren't my ideal play style either. But I have to get out of my comfort zone, so I'm working with this. And see, right now I think we're pretty even. I think I only have 3 cards. He has 4, but he's got a forward and a backup. So. And I don't have answers to deal with him. I choose to block, and I pitch a Carbuncle to play a Carbuncle just so I don't take any more damage. Yeah, see, he's reading in just to make sure. That's the important part too when you're testing. You want to make sure you get all, read out all the opponent's cards and stuff. And he's asking me why would I do that, and I'm just saying because I don't want to take any more points of damage. And instead he responds with deal 7k. See? That's what I'm saying. Outs are very important. The reason we took that back, by the way, guys, is because I had already declared block. once block is declared, attack will not deal damage. Remember that also, because I'm sure if I left that on and I didn't say anything, I would have got a question about it. But yeah, so that's it for the deck. That's it for my deck testing ideas. I do have another deck that I'm playing with after this one, because I realize. So I know it might be too early to say, and some people were like, "Oh, how do you know it's not ready after only just 2 duels?" So mind you, these are literally the first 2 duels I played with this Earth Water deck, and I knew right off the bat like what the feeling is. Like it's gotta be cohesive, it's gotta be fluent, like it's gotta like go from 2, 3, 4, as often as you can. And see, I scoop right there because I know I don't have that. I don't have those plays, and I can't get out of that situation that I'm in right now. So right then and there, I told myself, all right, I know exactly what this deck needs. I'm going to put it aside. I get up for a second, and I bring out the other deck. See, now this one I know is just a fun, silly deck that I put together just to give you a heads up. I'm going to let you guys watch it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it doesn't have much, honestly. But it's Ice Wind standard units. The main reason because of Ice Wind standard units is because I love Elementalist. I think the Mystic Knight from the new from Opus 5 is also really nice, the ice one. The Deep Sea Underground guys, that I've seen. I don't know if you guys have seen them before, but the 4-cost is kind of like a Warrior Light, but just for ice standard units. And then there's a 3-cost backup Conjurer, which I don't know if anybody's actually looked at, but it's such a great card. It's kind of like the Miner, but so it's a 3-cost, but when it gets deployed, you can get any standard unit forward or backup back to your hand. So pretty much, same thing. First turn, if you open up only 3-cost backups, you can pitch a standard unit, any standard unit, and just get it back. It's regardless of color too. So it can be, if you're playing Ice Earth or Ice Wind standard units, it doesn't matter, or Ice Water, anything. But Conjurer is the key there. Like Conjurer is just, you're not losing value, and that's something that's important, again, going into the deck. And that's kind of where I started with both of these decks. Like, I knew I wanted to play Yuna, and I knew I wanted to play Miner and stuff like that, and I knew I wanted to play Wool. So I sleeved those 9 cards, and then I went from there. And honestly, I know I'm not taking those cards out. Like, I eventually, like some people say, you have to learn to cut things even if they're important, and they're right. Sometimes it is important, but what's more important is timing, and the timing is when you play it. So right there, see, first turn Conjurer, I pitch 2 and I get Ranger back. It's simple, and it's pretty much like a 2-cost again, backup, and so I can just choose, and that helps. You can play multiples of it, so it helps down the line too when you're short. Let's say they do manage to get rid of your Rangers, or they manage to get rid of the Elementalist or other things that you're planning on there on playing. It also helps with other backups. Let's say you pitch a Fire Sage. Let's say you're playing Ice Fire standard units or something like that. Because I'm sure there's other standard unit decks besides Water Wind that make sense. Just people who try them don't try them for long, and others are just afraid to try them competitively. And I want to break out of that. Like, I see these cards, and I know they have more potential than people are giving them credit for. So that's what I'm trying with this deck. But see here, again, when you're playing Fire, it's very likely that they have Vivi or some kind of out to your forwards. So it's not safe to play, your big rare cards without protection yet, or at least really early. You kind of want to play with the tempo on against Fire. I find is usually the best idea. And just from looking at the duel right here, you guys, he literally only grabs the Vivi to pitch, but instead he does that. I don't have enough cards for him to kill me with the Vivi, so he does that instead. You see, you trade 1 out for 1 out. I don't necessarily know if I would have done that, but that's just how it is sometimes. You always want to keep outs going forward, so because wasting an out for an out, it does not make sense sometimes. But yeah, we all have different play styles, but you'll see. And the other thing I want to talk about is the last thing I guess I'm going to talk about before I let you guys go and just watch the rest of this duel, because you got about 7 minutes left here, is Arcanist. I learned about this card 2 weeks ago, and I don't want to say learned, I guess experienced the actual potential of this card like about 3 weeks ago. And so what it does for one ice and one for 2 CP, one ice, one normal, one colorless, if you will, you choose a number, and any forwards of that cost cannot attack. And that's kind of one of the things that I was talking about when you always want to make sure it's good all around, but it also helps against, aggro decks and specific niche decks. So let's say aggro decks usually play low cost, 2 1 cost summons, or stuff like that, forwards, and Conjure Arcanist is one of those cards that says no to all 2 costs. So even Golbez, like Golbez summons 4 different color 2 costs. If I'm playing Arcanist, all I have to do is pitch. Just activate its effect, and that's it. You don't have to remove Arcanist from the field to the break zone to resolve his effect either. It's permanent. You can keep doing it every turn, so he'll stay on the field no matter what. And then see here, I have to take the damage because I only have 1 forward anyway. I'm not stronger, and that Ranger is the one that buffs everyone, so I let him go, and I'm gonna hold him off here with with Arcanist. Yeah, I almost messed up there. But now I have 2 bodies on board, and then I pitch also to get Arc on the board right here, because I want Ranger at 8 so I can block the other guy. Or I pitch the Maria for the Arc so I can block him. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you always want to have cards when you're deck building. You want to have cards that not only apply to your general, what you expect the meta matchups to be, but you need to have cards that work on both levels for the top decks, or whatever you believe the top decks are, or whatever the top decks are in your region or your locals or whatever. And it also has to work for the niche decks, the surprising ones, the ones that go there thinking I'm gonna win this because no one's ready for this. You can't build like that. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to build like niche and surprise rush decks or whatever, because Fire Ice is such a strong Fire Ice aggro is such a viable option, like competitively as well. And if you don't have ways of dealing with that, you're gonna lose every time. So again, putting it shortly here, Arcanist is one of those cards. I think if I ever do go back to Ice, that'll be one of the cards I play. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. But yeah, see right there, he entered attack phase, an attack prep. I responded with Arcanist. I said 2 costs forwards cannot attack, and he has to pass. See, he can't do nothing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work as well when you don't keep drawing ice cards, but sometimes you get lucky and you draw 1 every time. But it's better if you have backups to play these things, obviously. Alright guys, that's it for me here. I'll let you finish up the duel. I do have the video from locals coming up later this week, probably in a day or 2. Just give me till Friday to be safe. But yeah, that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of this duel, and I'll see you guys next time. you.